You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
The following production is part of the We Be Geeks podcast collective.
Ian, look at this. What, it's a police box. What on earth is he doing here? I mean, these things are usually on the street. I feel it. I feel it, you feel it? Faint vibration. It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating nearly 50 years of the Doctor Who universe. Hold tight. You never know where the TARDIS is going next.
You're probably a bit confused right now. I broke the glass. It's all come back to me.
What is this?
That's my ship.
What?
Let me take it from the top. Hello, I'm the Doctor. I'm a traveller in space and time. And that thing buried down there is called a TARDIS. Time and relative dimension in space. You're gonna love this.
Hey there, listeners, and happy holidays from us here at Earth Station Who. It's very good to see you guys once again, and we are once upon a time, there was a lady named River Song, and she went off and she got to meet the master. Not just one master, not just two masters, not just three masters. She met three masters and one Missy. So it's pretty awesome. We get to talk about the Diary of River Song, Volume 5. Can you believe it? The fifth one already. And we're going to have a ton of fun talking about this one. Did it sink? Did it swim? Did it just stink? We'll talk all about that, and were our eardrums blown out by the theme song once again.
Always.
Oh, my God. We are all going to lose at least 20% of hearing after all of this.
I played piccolo, it's fine.
It's interesting because, they could have, toned down the theme a little bit, but no.
They could have completely removed it.
Well, we could still hear it from the past seasons. It's okay,
It's going to echo in my brain for years.
Forever.
Exactly. On Mike's deathbed, he'll be hearing da 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 da.
That'll be what kills me.
Exactly.
Yep.
How did the poor guy die? The Diary of River Song.
That is all on the road to ruin.
Exactly. Well, it's the 2020 of songs. What can you say? We definitely would love to hear from you guys at home. Please write us a feedback at earthstationwho.com. We'd love to hear your opinion on this. How are you guys doing with the holidays? Are you guys looking forward to what's happening in 2.5 weeks? New Doctor Who. So we are going to be, joining you then to talk all about it. So it should be a lot of fun. We have tonight, of course, our regulars, Mike and Mary, are here. Hey, guys.
Howdy.
Hey, everybody.
And once again, we are joined by the lovely and talented Julie Filipek.
Thanks, guys. I feel like I'm here faster than last time. It hasn't been a year.
We can arrange it that we do it that way, So, and you have to remember, feeling like a year, that's 2020. It doesn't. It feels like 5 years. It
doesn't have to be a year. It just feels like it.
That's
exactly.
Fair.
And this is Doctor Who, wibbly wobbly timey. You know how it goes. Or as they said in the show, don't mention that one to me. Don't mention that one. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad you're here, Julie. So it's great to see you again.
Yeah.
And we do have some Doctor Who news we're going to talk about real quick. They announced new 10th Doctor adventures on Big Finish, and he's running into some old friends. So that's the good news. The bad news is we have to wait till fall 2022 for it.
It'll probably be out before the next TV Doctor Who, not counting the special.
You'll probably be able to hear that before the new season comes back.
They need to stop tempting me so far in advance. It's you know what? Stop telling me news 3 years from now. I'd really rather not know. Surprise me.
You'd rather be...
Yeah.
Well, he's doing 3 full cast audio dramas, and it is featuring the return of K9, Leela, Ace, and Nissa.
Yeah, the
Nissa I could do without. But,
yeah, they had me until Nissa.
K9's in all 3 of them.
Well, maybe
affirmative.
Maybe by that time I would have seen some of these episodes from my other podcast.
So you don't know who these characters are?
I know K9 because K9 came back in the new Who, and I've heard of Leela. And I've never heard of Nissa.
Yeah.
So, okay.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah. And have you ever heard of Ace?
Heard of Ace, but again, with those two, I've just heard of.
They're awesome. You have something to look forward to.
Exactly. You have many years ahead of you to be able to get to these characters. I'm actually really excited about Ace mostly. And I just loved her character, and they've done great stuff with her in Big Finish. So I'm going to be very curious to see what they do. Mike Gordon is a huge fan of Leela, so
Yeah, I don't have to say who I'm excited about.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't think it was Nissa. I'm sorry, but
I'm sad that they decided for no Susan.
Yeah, you'd think, I don't know. She's still doing Big Finish, isn't she?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
She not?
They haven't gotten her yet.
No. She hasn't done it because even in the first Doctor Adventures, it's the TV Susan that they did from the TV movie. Adventures in Space and Time. They actually used the actors who played Susan, Ian, and Barbara for the first Doctor Adventures.
Right, but then they had first Doctor Adventures before that came out.
Yeah, but she hasn't touched Doctor Who with a 10-foot pole.
Oh, wow.
No.
Okay.
No. And I'm kind of surprised they haven't, we've talked about this in the past and, a couple times, and it's really sad that, they have people from the first Doctor era. Why aren't they bringing them back? And a perfect thing they could do, and we've said this last time, is they can bring her back and she could regenerate into a younger, new version of Susan or something, and, all brand new adventures right there,
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Exactly.
It just gets so confusing the one thing I also get confused about with Big Finish too is that, they've got a 10th Doctor collection that they have, but that is only like a small part of the 10th Doctor adventures. Like the ones that he's in. Previously, we talked about the series that he's doing with River, and those are separate. These companion ones will be separate as well. He's been doing stuff with he's got one with Tom Baker that he's doing, and that's separate. He's got a couple others that that are just like the ones that are, I think they're called like Dalek Universe. That's a separate thing. I mean, if you want to get just the 10th Doctor adventures, and he's the one that's been, well, other than Chris, he's the one that's been doing it the least. I mean, that's still a lot of stories. I think there's over like 40 stories that he's done.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Because he's doing the Time Lord Victorious stuff.
Right.
And so, yeah, he's doing a lot, and I'm amazed how much he's doing. It's just it's almost like he misses being on the show or something,
Well, I think there's that, and then there's also the fact that they've announced a ton of them this year, and I think the pandemic has helped Big Finish a lot.
Yeah,
a lot of actors who can't get work.
You can still do voice acting.
Exactly.
Yeah. And David Tennant has always done a lot of voice acting and things like that. I've listened to the entirety of How to Train Your Dragon series that he did. So he did 12 of those. So he just does a lot of audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's Scrooge McDuck on DuckTales. He doesn't mind lending his voice out there.
Oh, exactly. It should be pretty awesome. I would, it's sad that they just announced that they are canceling DuckTales. So I guess he's going to just go back and do more Doctor Who work.
I mean, I guess they could. Yeah, they'll. Yeah.
I don't think he's going to hurt for jobs.
No.
No.
It's not, and it's not like he has this podcast also.
Exactly.
And it's interesting. I love seeing what he's doing, and he's just having fun, and bless him for it. It's pretty awesome.
Well, he's been one of the ones that has really, probably more than anybody, has embraced Doctor Who as a franchise and his part in it. It seems like he's willing to do anything almost regarding Doctor Who, which has been great because he's been one of the most popular ones.
Oh yeah. Well, he comes by it naturally. He's a fanboy.
Yeah.
He is a Doctor Who fanboy, and good on him for keeping it going. And I want to see it, till he's old and gray, or as we like to say, he looks like how Christopher Eccleston looked in that picture today.
I mean, he literally married into Doctor Who. So
yes.
There's no escaping it for him.
He's gone all the way.
No. Yes, he is. He's living the life, as he says.
So I would imagine that, they might have only like 40 adventures now, but he's still relatively young. So, I mean, they're going to get like 1,000 stories out of him, big finish, if he goes at his current rate.
Mm-hmm. So it should be very interesting to see. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. So have you guys ordered any of his stories yet?
No,
not yet.
No.
I have so much other Big Finish already.
I did order the 10th Doctor and River Song one, which just came out. I just haven't downloaded it yet. So, and they do have currently the one we just mentioned. I think it's on sale for $19. That if you download.
Oh, the companions one.
Yeah, I'll probably do that because I want to hear them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be curious to see.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get the Tom Baker one.
My backlog of podcasts, audiobooks, TV shows, movies is just so large that I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to hold back. And as my, when I just decide, you know what? I want to listen to one of these, that's when I'm going to get one.
No, I totally understand that. I think. And, you might have friends who have some of them. So, you never know. So wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So, so it's very possible. So I think we could, talk about that even longer, but, we got a lot of River Song to talk about. Should we jump right in?
Sure. More Big Finish.
So, River Song, Season 5. 4 different stories, 4 different incarnations of the Master. Should we go story by story, or do you guys want to just talk about it in general?
Let's go story by story, because it actually gets a little confusing with Big Finish otherwise.
That's fair.
It's interesting because how some of the seasons in the past has had, River, it's one big story going across and it ties in together. These do not. These are 4 individual tales.
Stories.
Yeah, they take place in different time periods.
Yes,
and I think
in different periods of her life.
And I think it benefited from doing that. Because one of the problems that I thought happened when there was the, big overarching story, but then you had the different authors, the different writers, and then it just didn't seem very cohesive. So I actually preferred that each story was separate.
Yeah,
personally,
I agree. Actually, it was really clumsy how they tried to tie them all together before. It was better that they just gave up on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You actually had, in this one, you had, 4 different writers. You had 4 different versions of the Master. Did they all work for you guys? Or
well, I enjoyed the first one.
They all, yeah.
They all sort of worked. I mean, they had their ups and downs.
They all sort of did, right? They all had Alex Kingston doing a voice, so they all had that going for it. And the writing, a little inconsistent. Yeah, I think the last couple. I think I've been pretty harsh on as far as the writing goes, and I'll continue to be harsh because I expect good stuff. But I didn't. It wasn't as bad, but some of the stories seemed really similar in this one that I thought it, for the variety they could have had, I just wish they'd done something maybe a little bit more ambitious.
Well, the first one was my favorite, and I think it's not because of the plot; it's because of Missy.
Oh yeah.
The interaction between Alex Kingston and Michelle Gomez is off the charts. I mean, that was awesome.
So that one was the Bechdel test.
Right.
Yes.
So, and it was good. That was, I think, my favorite also. Mm-hmm. And I like how they were playing, who is trying to con who in this, who's trying to...
They kept trying to one-up each other.
Exactly. Wait, no, do you think I'm going to do this? I have this, blah, blah, blah. And then, wait a minute. Those weren't the holograms. Those were actually them, that whole thing. And it was a fun caper story. Both of them trying to escape from the most impossible prison, supposedly.
Yeah, I like that premise. I like the premise of putting both of them in a prison and they have to work together to get out. I like that premise a lot. I like the chemistry between the two of them a lot. Michelle Gomez is my favorite incarnation of the Master. I'll say it right now. And she's just a delight. The two of them together, it's a shame that we never got to see them in live action because, man, that would be amazing. Maybe there's still a chance that it could happen, but that alone, makes this story, those things make this story the best story. But I will say that, I was very annoyed by the fact that, they went out of their way to call it the Bechdel test, and this story fails the Bechdel test.
Yes.
Which I was like, are you guys doing this on purpose? Is it supposed to be ironic? Because it feels stupid. Like, obviously it's a takeoff on the Bechdel test, right? The Bechdel-Wallace test, right? Which most people who don't know, it's a thing in fiction where it's a test that you like at least 2 women in a scene, 2 women characters who are talking to each other. They have to be talking about something other than a man, right? That's the test. And a lot of movies, a lot of stories, a lot of TV fail this test, which is amazing when you think about like all the great things that a lot of people like fail this test. And it's a simple test. Now, this individually, some of the scenes pass this test, but the story itself does not pass the test. Because the whole thing is that both of them are put in this prison to find out about the doctor. Now, granted, the doctor's not always male, so I guess you can get, you can sort of, use that loophole. But still, the fact that they were both in there because of him, and it never gets resolved as to who exactly put them in there to do that. It just feels so empty, and it feels like a slap in the face to the Bechdel test, actually, to me.
Yeah, I also do have some issues with the Bechdel test because, yes, I think it's important that that women can have these interactions without speaking about a man. But just because they don't speak about a man doesn't mean that they have agency and that they're strong characters. So I will take the Bechdel test with a grain of salt. And look more on, what kind of agency do they have and, what kind of story are we telling with the women? Because there were instances in, the first Doctor where it's like, okay, we passed the Bechdel test, but it's Susan and Barbara. And let me tell you, Susan is not a strong female character. It's not written that way. So that's one thing. But yeah, you're right. It is kind of a slap in the face where, it's always about the Doctor. Yeah. And every once in a while, it'd be just really nice to have a River Song story that has absolutely nothing to do.
It never mentions him.
Right. It's just her on an adventure.
Could they do that, please? Could they just this is our 5th volume, and every story. Now, granted, most of them, she encounters a version of them, right? Is this the first time we've done one where she didn't encounter any of the incarnations of him?
Yes.
Right? So
far. Now,
granted, she's running into, the Master, which is obviously related to the Doctor, and it's his biggest enemy, or one of his. And so it's understandable that his name comes up, but that, I just thought calling the story, the Bechdel test and the Bechdel Institute and everything was really I'm like, I don't think he knows what this means.
No, I couldn't figure out, was he trying to be serious about it, or was it it didn't make sense?
No, I mean, it didn't make sense at all.
Even Alison Bechdel has problems with the Bechdel test. I mean, she never defined it that way. It's something that appeared in something she wrote, and then people kind of ran off with it and turned it into this other thing. But yeah, it was unfortunate that they chose to do that. It wasn't necessary, and it was insulting, actually.
It's really funny that you take away Bechdel and you give the prison another name, and it's like, you know what? That kind of solves the whole issue, because it's still that caper, it's still that trying to get out of the prison, and we're not constantly fighting this, is it or is it not passing the Bechdel test?
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It was it was just unnecessary.
Yeah. Like I said, I love the premise. Put the two of them in a prison and they have to get out. Like a prison that should have been the premise in and of itself. Like, this prison wants to be known as the best prison. It's trying to, make a name for itself. And what does it do? It locks up these two individuals and tries to keep them there. Like, that in and of itself, to me, is like an amazing premise. But then they go a little further with it, and that's where it starts to fall apart.
One of the things I did find interesting is Missy is from River's future. Because if you think it's because she first appears in the Capaldi era.
Well, at that point in time, I mean, you can't. Nothing's linear. Yeah. So.
Nothing's linear. But if you go through River's cycle,
River has not met Missy.
At this point in her life, she has. It's her future, because
it is her future. Because
at that point in time.
Yeah.
As far as we know, at least.
Right. Exactly. Because the last Doctor she meets is Tennant, but, because that's the library story. But right before that, she meets Capaldi's in the
husbands of River Song.
Right.
Right. And so basically,
this story takes place right after she kills him, right after River kills the Doctor.
Kills the 11th Doctor.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And she can't let the universe know that he's alive still, and that's the whole thing. The premise why she's being held, is the Doctor still alive?
They're trying to force her to admit he's still alive.
Yeah,
right.
And that's why, that's why River's brought there, but the same reason that's why Missy's brought there. And that makes no sense either.
I mean,
it doesn't.
It's poor thought process, but the thought process is get the person that he loves and get the person that he hates most. And between the two of them, it runs the entire spectrum of why the Doctor would be brought out.
Yeah.
Not great.
No.
But that's...
In his defense, though, I will say, and I don't know how much of this was him or if anything was allowed to be ad-libbed, but their dialogue is amazing. Little exchanges, like when Missy starts referring to River as ribs.
Yeah. Hey, ribs.
Hey, ribs. She's like, don't go. Like, I think she found something just as more annoying than a fez.
But yeah, there's a ton of chemistry between them. They just spark off each other.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're so good, and it's so smooth all the way through the story, all the way up to the end.
Yeah, I could have done 4 stories with the 2 of them.
Oh yes, definitely.
I would have loved it.
I would love to have a box set that is just them.
Mm-hmm. I was kind of expecting them to do what they've done in some of the other serials where like the person shows up in the first one and in the last one. And I was like, oh, we're going to get more of Missy. And I was like, oh, no, we don't.
No.
I thought we were, to your point, Julie, I thought we were going to find out that like who locked him up at some point in one of these stories. And we don't.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to be the tying thing or something that tied it together. Yeah. But no, we didn't get that at all.
It would have been kind of clever if it was another incarnation of the Master.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it's Madame Kevarkian's people, the whole, silence stuff is tied into it, possibly. You don't know, though. No, you don't know if it's the church, if it's,
and
the whole
ultimately
thing.
It doesn't matter.
It was very in keeping with some of Stephen Moffat's episodes. They'll just drop this plot point.
Right. He seldom dropped it in like a one story though. Like
that's true. He didn't usually drag it out for a while. He just never wrapped it up.
But it does make me like I know that there's a Missy series, and now I want to listen to that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
It definitely made me want to hear more from her.
So then we got Animal Instinct, the second one, with the Crispy Master. Or Decayed Master, as they put into the notes.
Yeah, nobody's ever called him the Decayed Master.
No. It was okay. It was, your basic, werewolf story almost, or evolving,
or mutant beast.
Creatures that evolve. Yeah. Exactly. It was okay.
Yeah.
And, I had a feeling Luke was doomed, pretty much, from, it's like,
most of her companions are. Episode. Like, I've noticed that there's not a through line of companions that she's with someone different every time.
Mm-hmm. It was okay. I don't, there wasn't anything real spectacular with that one. There was no chemistry with her and the Master in that one, really. The Master basically in that one was a mustaching, twirling villain, That's
what you'd expect from. But I thought Jeffrey Beavers did a great job at that. Like his voice is great. I mean, he comes from the Delgado era, right? So he channels that, and I think he does pretty well.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
very much so.
Like, I don't think I disliked it as much as the rest of you guys. I actually, I wouldn't say I was overly enthusiastic about it, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was fun. And sometimes I just want a fun little romp, and that's what I got.
I mean, I agree. I actually it was very old, classic Doctor Who, mm-hmm. and it was fun. I mean, it wasn't the best thing I've ever heard, but it was still fun. I mean, what did you think of when they sacrificed the guy as food in order to get away?
The captain of the ship?
Yes, and River is just okay, if that's what we got to do.
Well, she's like, exactly. It's done now, so okay.
Yeah, he's pretty much, he's injured already, and he's slowing us down. And the Master was like, just push him over the edge.
That'll slow him down for a while. And River's like, okay.
I think all the stories do a pretty good job at relaying the fact that River is a little bit more like the Master than a lot of people want to think about.
Mm-hmm. She's at least amoral, maybe not immoral, but amoral.
Right, she's not downright evil.
She's pragmatic.
She doesn't mind making, or she's up to making some hard choices if she has to.
Yeah.
Well, exactly, and they even said in this that she's a sociopath. I think.
Yeah.
They said a couple times.
Yeah, I think so. And that's pretty accurate. She does what needs to get done. And sometimes that's very unfortunate. The only person that she was any way upset about was Luke. And even then she was like, I gotta let you go because there's nothing else I can do. But she was upset about it. So
yeah. It's like, I'm getting pulled in. And she's like, have fun. She's like, I'm not even going to lift my arms to help you.
I mean, she doesn't take pleasure in it like the master does.
Right.
Like the master's all, yay, somebody's getting killed horribly. But she's also she's very willing to take advantage of it if she needs to.
Yeah, it was good. Then we also had the lifeboat and the death boat. You had Eric Roberts back as the master.
Man, I like that landed with a thud for me. Like I felt like Eric was just reading text. I just didn't feel like he was a character. I couldn't get invested in the story that way because I mean, obviously, and that's the thing too. It's like with these stories, we know who she's going to meet. So a lot of times that, the rug's pulled out from us. So, I mean, it's spoiled, right? I mean, so we know right from the beginning that, Eric Robert, the master is there, and, you got to play catch up as far as what's going on and what the story is and what the relationship is and all that kind of stuff. But the story was okay. But really Eric just dragged it down for me. Very much so in this.
Really?
Yeah.
No, yeah, it didn't make sense to me, the whole thing with the daughter. It's like, I didn't even his voice is so just smooth, and he doesn't sound evil in this as the master, like the master should sound. And it was like, okay, I'm waiting for the master to show up. It's just this father and daughter, in space stuck with River. I didn't even think, oh, that's Eric Roberts as the master. I just thought it was just some guy,
Yeah, well, and I'll go even further. Not only does he not sound evil, he just doesn't emote very much.
It's the same all the way through.
Yeah, he just has one tone, like he's just reading text. Like you could see he's got the script in front of him. He's just reading it, and he's not putting any more effort into it than that. And it falls flat with me.
It's probably the weakest. I do definitely agree with that, especially from the master perspective. I liked the concept of the daughter, of being this construct from an 80s movie, basically.
That was actually kind of funny.
And I was like, oh man, they should have played more on that and brought in a little bit more of, those elements from that 80s tactic. Because if the master is going to lay flat, then give me more of the daughter and some of this interesting 80s concepts. Because when I was thinking about it, I was sitting there, I was like, so I'll watch this movie that her life is based off of. That's what I got out of this entire episode was, what's her story?
And it would have been great if it was an actual movie too.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
There are all sorts of rights issues with that, so I'm sure they couldn't do that. But I think that there was that second sub story in that too that they kind of connect after a while. But at first it jumps back and forth between like this captain and this engineer that she just recruited or kidnapped or whatever you want to call it. And they've got this mysterious cargo, right? And it turns out to be a psychotic person who sounds a lot like Alex Kingston. I'm like, do not hire an actress that sounds like someone else, because we get confused. I'm like, is that River? Is that what's going on? Like,
I know.
Yeah.
Come on, Big Finish.
Yeah, that's not the first time they've done that.
No.
It's also one of those things where I was sitting there, I was like, is it like a replica of her who's like pretending to be her, and so it's Alex Kingston doing the voice? No, okay,
because I think it. Because wasn't it in the last one where they actually had two River songs?
Yes.
She had a duplicate. Mm-hmm. So, and it would have been actually interesting if it was the duplicate River song that they had.
Yeah. That would have been a lot more interesting than
that would have tied it better together.
Yeah.
But then you also had the whole subplot also of the captain going after the creature in the vortex and, becoming like a Moby Dick type thing. And it was just like, it took half my crew. And I was like, oh, really? You're going to go there?
Yeah, that was lame. That was lame.
It was really disjointed.
Yeah.
It's like you have too many subplots. None of them connect in a logical way. They should have just stuck with one, maybe two of them, and then just gone in that direction. And I agree that instead of Calliope, it should have been Duplicate River, because then that would have just tied it in and given you more of a backstory.
Well, it would have allowed a lot more River and a lot less Eric.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Look, Paul McGann made a huge career from Big Finish after, the Eighth Doctor, his movie kind of didn't, kind of fizzled. So he got a brand new life thanks to Big Finish. He's well regarded as one of the best doctors because of his experience with Big Finish. That's not going to be the case with Eric Roberts. That master is just, I think they should just let him.
He did not redeem himself here.
No, not at all. Not at all. I thought, well, maybe we'll get something cool out of this guy, and I was really disappointed.
I kept waiting for him to do something.
Yeah.
But it never happened.
No, exactly. Or sound like you're in drag again or something like that,
Do something.
So, no, exactly. There was nothing, really nothing there.
No.
So then we had Concealed Weapon for the final one.
Derek Jacobi
as the War Master. Sorry. Yeah. He was the War Master, and he was awesome.
Yeah, I liked him.
And
yeah.
Because he truly sounded psychotic. He sounded so like, ugh. See, this is the first time I've heard the War Master, because I always assumed that, according to the TV show, you had, he was Doctor, the Doctor at the end of time.
Right.
And, he
didn't remember he was the Master.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, he didn't at all, because he had the fob watch also.
Yep.
And the whole thing with that. And I assumed he had been in that time as a little boy and grew old without knowing he was actually the Master. He regenerated that way from the Time War, because he escaped from the Time War is what they said. So I don't know the storyline behind the whole War Master and everything, because he's doing a whole series of them, of those.
Yeah, I would listen to more of his.
Yeah.
This sold me on those too. I was like, he's really good. If he's not Sir Derek Jacobi, he will be, right? I mean, he's just an incredible actor, stage, film, everything. He's got a career. Like, the fact that he's doing Big Finish is amazing to Big Finish, actually. And it shows how much he loves doing this. And it shows every scene that he's in. I mean, he doesn't mind chewing the scenery, and playing that, that mustache twirling guy, but with an edge that's just evil and dangerous and scary.
Yeah, he is really menacing.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. And of all the episodes, this is one where I was like, Rivers kind of met her match, because with Missy they were equals, and then in the other ones she was very much on top of everything. But this one, it's like, River,
you're in trouble.
Yeah, she
River was playing catch up the whole time to him in this one,
and not just catch up. I mean, she loses.
She does.
He's lucky to be alive.
Right.
She's only alive because he allowed her to live.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, and I loved it because, she, it's like, you remember I told you I was going to find out everything about you.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was bone chilling. That was just, because he tried doing the hypnotism earlier and she was like, nope, won't work. Sorry.
So he figured it out. I mean, that's what the Master would do. That made sense. I mean, he was manipulating
Master has
people
all the time in the world.
Yeah, he was manipulating people right and left here, everyone, and doing it masterfully. Ha. I mean,
I see what you did there. I see what you did, Mary.
But I also like that the secondary characters weren't all goodies either. I mean, they were selling each other out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was preying on them.
They seem like a happy crew, but they're all backstabbing each other.
They were all backstabbing each other. I liked that some were strong and some seemed a little bit weaker. So you had a very wide range of women. Also, it was a lot of women on this episode, and I just like to see all the different dynamics of that.
Oh, it was really awesome. You know, I love that it was all whole female cast except for the computer voice and Derek Jacobi.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was great. And, you know, it was neat how they were picking off, you know, it's a typical, you know, alien type story where the monster or the villain picks off each one by one. And there were a couple that were innocent that didn't have a clue what was going. And, you know, but it was just like, it was great. I didn't expect the weapon or whatever to be inside that last person. It was just like, that was cool. Yeah. And I love how, of course, as a typical master story, it backfires on him. You know, shocker. So I'm assuming this is while River was an actual archaeologist by this point. You know, in the era of, you know, how she was that way. She was already out of the storm cage and that she was working as the archaeologist.
I think she's a professor.
The mission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Like she was in Silence in the Library.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see this happening like shortly before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it in that time period. So it was an interesting storyline, and I enjoyed that part. And it's like, because you're trying to figure out where in River's timeline each time, also in each one of these stories, since they did jump around.
Yeah. And this is one that really, you know, because all the other stories, she keeps mentioning the doctor, looking for the doctor, assuming that the doctor's there, et cetera, that gets so tiresome that by the time Concealed Weapon happens, it's like, oh, she's doing it again. And it's unfortunate because you could really build some tension, and it's a really interesting concept where she thinks it's him, but it's not. Like, I like that idea, but it's so played out over and over again with all her adventures and, you know, expecting him that it just is kind of annoying. It's like, there she goes, just thinking that it's him again, and it's going to cost, and this time it cost her lives.
Right. Yeah, I was going to mention that too, because this is actually a pattern across the whole Diary of River Song line of Big Finish, where she's constantly thinking it's the doctor when it's not, or that's all she's thinking about. And it gets old, and it doesn't need to be that way. Her character is strong enough to not always be constantly harping on that.
Yeah, it's a frustrating thing. I think it's on Big Finish's faults and not necessarily on any of the writers, because they're probably like, well, it's related to Doctor Who, so we have to have the doctor like mentioned at least. And it's like, you know what, guys? These characters are strong enough that we don't need to do this over and over and over again.
Right.
Like, there are certain times when it's like, you know what? You could give me some side character stories. There were some companions I was discussing from, actually a companion and a side character from the Second Doctor era, that I'm like, if these two had an adventure series, I would listen to that. And
oh, sure.
Because it's like, I don't need the doctor.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if they're required, it's just like we have to mention him every 5 minutes, or, I'm beginning to wonder because, I mean, a lot of times it seems slotted in there.
And in this one, she's supposed to be old enough to know better.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kept on, it's that husband of mine, or it's just like, oh, no.
I mean, it makes more sense for younger River to be really hung up on her relationship with the doctor, but it's, she's the old married couple by this time.
And she's met different incarnations of the Masters. This is not, I mean, the doctor isn't the only Time Lord she's met.
Right.
So her automatically assuming that it is him.
It didn't even make sense. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. And like I said, it
there's
costs
a few things in
it would have been a good scene, though. To your point, Mary, it would have been an interesting scene if she acknowledged, like, I keep doing this, and this time it really cost lives. Like, I need to, if she had grown out of that, but she doesn't. I imagine the next volume it's going to be the same.
Yeah, it's been like that through all 5, so I'm not expecting it to change.
Right.
Nope, very much so. So that's the stories. Any final thoughts before, do we want to rate this compared to the other ones, or just let's say, hey, listen to it?
I would say listen to it, but it's like they all follow this pattern where the first one and the last ones are the best ones, and the ones in the middle are kind of forgettable. Because I actually, even though I said the first story was my favorite, it's not because of the writing, it's because of the interaction between Missy, or not because of the plot. It's the interaction between Missy and River. The writing's better on the last one, I think, despite what we talked about.
Yeah, if they had, I don't know if there was a debate on what order they should put them in, because obviously, since there's no through line, they could have put them in whatever order they wanted. It starts off with the best in terms of chemistry, and which is not to say that, Jacoby and Kingston don't have chemistry, because they do. But they start off with the one with just chemistry about the only thing that's going for it. And then they end with the last story, which is the best written one, I think.
It is. I loved in that story that, the last one where River did turn the tables on the master and sped up the self-destruct.
Yeah.
And he wasn't expecting.
That was good.
Yeah. Like, wait, I'm not going to have enough time to get to my TARDIS. It's like.
Good.
Another thing that is, I guess for exposition reasons, since she usually doesn't have either she has a companion, like a random companion, or she's talking to a computer all the time, some sort of robot computer thing or whatever. That kind of gets a little tedious. I did think that the computer guy, the computer voice or whatever in the first one was I just thought it was kind of different, and I kind of enjoyed it. I liked his little no. Like she would be like, is this a hotel? No.
It would have been so much fun if she had taken it as not a pet, but just a little companion. And in all the episodes, she's just sitting there talking to him. He's like, no. That would be fun.
I did kind of like him. If she had adopted him as her little canine, it would have been kind of fun throughout the series. Mm-hmm. But
it's one interesting thing is Luke, who was in the second story, he does return in season 7 of Diary of River Song, so you will see him again. Not that you're all dying to hear that, but
my God, I can't wait till we get there.
I didn't mind Luke, and I think it makes sense because she had probably the most attachment to him of all the side characters in all of these episodes.
But you could have told me that they've been, to me, in my mind, they've been so generic throughout this whole run of these series that you could have told me that some of these characters were in volume 2 or 5 or 3 or something, and I would have been like, oh, really? Because they don't really stand out.
Yeah, they didn't resonate.
Yeah. So that's been kind of unfortunate. I do think overall this series of adventures was better than some of the other volumes we've listened to.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
We've definitely heard worse.
Yeah. So
yes.
I would recommend this one as a whole, probably right up there with I can't even think of another series that is this strong as far as 2 very, very strong ones to listen to that I'll listen to again.
Oh. And the other 2 aren't terrible.
Right.
But they're definitely not as good.
Eric Roberts is terrible.
Okay. Eric Roberts is terrible. But
Eric Roberts was a really bad master, just in general. He was bad in the TV movie, and he was really bad.
Yeah, if you're looking for redemption for Eric Roberts, you are not going to find it here.
Nope.
I know that I criticize Big Finish for having a woman that had a voice that was very similar to Alex Kingston and not doing anything about that and making it sound similar. They kind of overplayed that with the last story because there's 2 female characters and they have these outrageous accents. One of them has this French accent that really kind of took me out of it occasionally. And another one is just sort of talked like I don't know how you describe it, like some sort of like zoner, like California girl.
Is that what it was supposed to be? I couldn't figure it out.
She's like, she's like, hey, computer, like, why are we doing this? Like that kind of thing.
Like, all I can think of is this a British person who thinks this is what Americans sound like? Right. It's like the Dick Van Dyke, you know?
And
I thought her voice was very whimsical. I actually was like, okay.
Yeah, Mr. California, Mr. Pacific Coast.
I have no problem with that kind of, talk. It's cool. Like, I think we got to go now. So it's cool. So like, oh my God, we're going to get finished here.
It's like, I guess I'll go check out the engineering room. I guess, I was just like, wow, they're really overplaying this a bit, but.
I thought it was like almost like a very whimsical Irish accent in some ways.
Maybe, but to find out, like when I was listening to the last, behind the scenes stuff, and they interview like all the people who did the voice work. The woman who did the French accent is not French at all. No surprise there.
Consider me shocked there. Come on.
But the other woman, that's her real voice.
That's funny.
That's what she sounds like. I was like, wow.
Oh, I need to listen to it. Though.
Yeah. No. She was like, I got this role, and I really, I'd like Doctor Who and stuff, and so I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Like, wow, like bitching. So, I think that's pretty awesome, on. So, cool. So, all right. So, we do all recommend it. Next time out in Series 6, the River does meet the First Doctor. Has adventures. It's interesting. They go First Doctor, Second Doctor, Third Doctor, and Fourth.
Oh.
But, emphasize, the only doctors she actually meets are the First Doctor and the Third Doctor.
Oh, okay.
So, because in the first one, she does meet the First Doctor, Susan, Ian, and Barbara. In the second story, in that one, she meets Captain Knight. She also faces a Yeti and the Great Intelligence.
Oh, okay, Captain Knight. Yes.
Yeah, of unit, you know that you just recently did that one, and then they have the Third Doctor, the Orgrons, the Sontarans, and the Droshigs from Carnival of Monsters. You haven't seen that one yet.
No.
And then in the fourth one is Henry Gordon Django and Wai Chiang. So it's almost like a sequel to The Talons, which is a Fourth Doctor story. So it would be very interesting to see.
And then it looks like they sort of continue that a little bit with 7 and 8. There's no doctors that appear at all. So and actually in Series 8, I don't think there's any companions or anybody from the series.
K9.
K9. Sorry. Yeah. K9. K9's in at least one of them. So,
and the Mechnoids.
Mechnoids?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yes. So, the story called Queen of the Mechnoids. Awesome.
I do suspect, because they recently, as Julie mentioned, they recently announced that Chris is doing some more of these. I fully expect that either in Series 9 or 10 that River's going to meet the 10th Doctor. Or the 9th Doctor, sorry.
I hope she does, because I would love to.
I would say, wouldn't it be ironic? Series 9?
Maybe.
It writes itself, people. Come on.
It's true. She did meet 4 and 4.
That's true.
If he can channel his 9 again, I would love to hear that, because I love 9. Mm-hmm. I think 9 gets bad rep, partially because of what happened after he left Doctor Who. But he can make some stuff happen that isn't seen.
I agree completely.
In other Doctor Who. So as long as he can bring that back, I would love to see that with River.
Oh, I would too. I love 9 too. He's one of my favorites. I think they'd be great together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree completely. I would love to see it, and I think if done right, he could have some really amazing chemistry with River. So, especially because if he plays him like he did on in the TV show, where he's very oddly alien and also very angry.
Mm-hmm.
Angry alien. Yes. Yes.
So, or as my friend called PTSD doctor. Yeah. So. Yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see what we get with that. So fingers crossed. Definitely would love to hear from you guys at home. Let us know what you guys think. Please write us feedback at earthstationwho.com. We are going to be back next episode, folks. Revolution of the Daleks. Woo-hoo. Maybe, if it's good.
Yeah.
If not,
we'll see.
We'll see, and, we'll be there with tissues. Oh, I don't know,
Oh, it's the last episode. It's finally
Graham.
Yeah.
I'll have some tissues handy.
We're all going to need them.
So we'll be reviewing the episode. It's just like,
and there may be alcohol involved.
As I'm just sitting here, I'm like, Captain Jack is back, so I am a happy person. It's like the end of Graham, and bringing him back, I'm like, everything is golden.
My life is complete.
And all emails, go to Julie Filipek.
Hi, everyone.
So, yes, of course, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. There has been a lot of pictures showing up of filming of Series 13. We will not be speaking of those because those are spoils. And, I don't want anyone accusing me, you're spoiling the show for us, Mike. So, it's going to be at least a year away for us to be able to see any of this anyway, at the earliest. I'm thinking probably spring 2022 for new Doctor Who.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably so.
If we're lucky, we may get a New Year's special in
next year.
It might turn into another New Year's special straight into the next season, like they did.
Yeah, that's true. Year. That's possible.
Yep. That's very true. That's a very good point. Mm-hmm. I could definitely see that. So we'll have to wait and see. Okay, let's thank our crew for tonight. Julie, you want to promote your podcast?
Absolutely. So I have a podcast with a few other folks, and it's Watchers in 4D, or Watchers in the Fourth Dimension. We're watching Doctor Who from the very beginning. Recording-wise, we've just finished up Season 5 with the Second Doctor. And if you want to listen, we have a cute little bonus episode of some merry little tunes about Doctor Who.
Very awesome. Can't wait to hear it.
It's fun.
Can't wait to hear it. And, of course, let's thank our regulars for being here. Mr. Mike Gordon, we made it through another one, my friend.
We did, and as always, it's my pleasure.
And Mary, it's always great to chat with you, my dear.
It's always great to be here.
And on behalf of all of us, from, myself, from Julie, Mike Gordon, and Mary, want to wish everybody a very happy holiday. Can't believe Christmas is finally here. It felt like it was 10 years away just a month ago. So it's great. I'm very glad to see 2020 come to a close, and we will be talking to you again in 2021.
Woohoo!
So until then, my name is Mike Faber, and we will see you here next time on the Earth Station Who podcast. Peace and happy holidays. And we're done. Boom.
Get thee behind me, 2020.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a bi-weekly pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from across the universe. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individual and are used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our podcast up on iTunes, Stitcher, or follow our blog at www.esopodcast.com. You can also follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. If you enjoyed the show, please leave feedback up on iTunes.
Transmission commencing. This is Wookie Radio.
Translated for the Wookie impaired. I like that Wookie.
Your hosts, Ken, Derek, and Mike, bring you the latest news and commentary from the far reaches of the galaxy.
Hold it. Hold it. I said hold it.
Subscribe today on iTunes and Stitcher.
I just assumed he's a Wookiee.
Start listening today, and remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.